All right, so for us to begin, let's close our eyes and taking a deep breath into the heart, exhaling through the earth. Another breath into the heart. And dropping all thoughts, anything that needs to be let go of, into the earth, allowing us to come to full presence and devotion to this beautiful conversation that we're about to have. And we call on Great Spirit, Father Sky, Mother Earth, the divine aspect of our ancestors, the archangels, the ascended masters, the elements, the four directions, and all beings of light that come in the wholeness of infinite truth. We ask for your guidance and your blessing. We ask that the hearts that this conversation is meant for will be touched, that it will be reached. And for this we give love and thanks. One more deep breath into the heart. And exhale. All right.
Rouxvé, welcome. I'm so honored to have you here with us today.
It's such an honor to be here. It truly is.
Okay, so before we dive into your work, I'd love for our listeners to hear more about the woman behind the title, our biohacking priestess. From the outside, your life has once looked perfect, successful, high achieving, but in the inside, you were unraveling. Can you take us back to that time in your life? Who you were before the priestess path found you?
Yes, and I love how you articulated that, found me, because it truly was that. I wasn't in search of wanting to be a coach or a teacher or a retreat facilitator. I was just a woman desperate to heal. And I think, so many of us on this path look towards gurus or coaches or mentors, and we just put them on a pedestal, and we don't understand that in order to reach a certain space of consciousness, a certain frequency, we've needed to transcend certain amount of pain and challenges and obstacles. So for me, I was, just a girl from a South African little town, a South African Afrikaans town that I grew up in, and very much, I would say, conditioned to go into the business world, to study, and for my parents, it was important that I chose something that made money. And I did that. I believed everything my parents and my teachers and everything said. And as a diligent, straight A student, went and got all the marks and studied this degree of actuarial science that was, very prestigious, made my parents very proud, and got this amazing, that I thought was amazing, job as a management consultant for a German European firm, which was amazing on paper. It was incredible. But I woke up one day, I think I was about 25, so this is 11 years ago, and I just woke up realizing I am entirely miserable. I am completely depressed, and I felt that I'd been lied to. So my parents, the world, I was angry, so angry with God. I remember the rage, feeling that I had been deceived, that I'd been told this lie, like something was completely amiss, because I thought that the status, the money, the accolades would bring me the happiness. And I remember growing up, it was always about the next goal. I remember when I was at school, it was like, okay, I will be happy when I get to university. And then I was in university, I was like, okay, no, I must just graduate. And when I start working, I know I'll make money, and then I'll be happy. And then I started working, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to climb that ladder and do this for a year, and it'll get better, and I'll be happy. It just did not come. The happiness did not come. And I think I'm lucky that I did have that awakening, or I mean, we call it an awakening, at that age. I think a lot of people have it a lot later. You know, a lot of women I work with, their children are out the house and they have this realization they don't have meaning and purpose. For me, it came quite early. And I my specialty today is around what I would say rebirth, and helping women through journeys of death and rebirth of the identity. So that means that I've needed to go through that myself. Okay, we can't teach something truly in a embodied place if you haven't experienced it. And you only become a master at something by having epically failed. So the first time I did this was an epic fail, all right? When I realized this awakening, I wish I was like, oh, I'm just going to go study with a shaman, or, you know, do this. I didn't. I did what I think any other 25-year-old with a lot of money, extremely lost, would do. I went to party. And I didn't realize that I actually had quite an addictive nature, and that ensued 4 years of destruction on every level. And I would, you know, estrangement from my parents as well, and I was always very close to them, so destruction of my relationships. But I do see it now that it was actually a mentor of mine that put this picture for me, that the drugs and the substance abuse and all of that suffering was actually the antidote to the identity I'd created of the corporate, the finance, the management consulting, and that was necessary. So if you think of the phoenix moving through its rebirth journey, it has to die in the flames. It has to be totally destroyed. And that process is really quite ugly sometimes, you know, and that's why I have so much love and compassion for women that are in the throes of struggle or feel like they're in the dark night of soul, because I know that this is the greatest blessing that life could be giving you. Is it's creating this blank canvas from which you can, you know, birth anew. And yeah, that's really from where this new journey and this new arising, this rebirth came from, was when I was truly on my knees, you know, with God. I was at a point, you know, at the lowest of my low, and I was honestly really okay with checking out of this life. And I did. I tell people I made a deal with God, and I said, you know, if I'm not shown why I'm on this planet, you know, there needs to be some big reason, because I don't understand the purpose. You know, I need to be shown a big reason I'm here. Otherwise, I'm checking out, you know. And that big reason did come, you know, shortly after. I was met with an incredible slew of mentors and people that is only serendipitous. It's orchestrated divine timing. If I look back, it's just unbelievable how I met these people at exactly the right time. And then that led me to, you know, years of studying under shamans, other priestesses, and healers, to be able to, you know, draw on all these different modalities and become who I am today. And again, I must emphasize, I actually never envisioned being a coach. I never envisioned teaching. I actually pushed it away for all of my life. I dated a coach when I was 25. I've dated two life coaches, and I always thought, never, I would never do that. It looked incredibly hard. So, and I must say, it's only been the last several years, I'd say the last 4 years, that it was undeniable. That's how, when you say the path found me, my initiation, or more remembering into the path of priestesshood, came from a ayahuasca ceremony. And there were seeds planted before that, where I had invitations from Isis in a Kundalini awakening and in various places. And I didn't put much emphasis on this. I didn't understand what was happening. I actually didn't have at the time a priestess mentor that could tell me, this is an invitation from the divine, this is an invitation from Divine Mother. I really stumbled on all of this, and eventually to the point that it became so obvious. And in this ayahuasca ceremony, it was literally an invitation from Divine Mother that this is a path I'd walked many, many lifetimes before, and everything is a choice. So they gave me the choice. Was I willing to continue the work in this life? And I wholeheartedly said yes. And yes, the rest is history.
And when you look, if you, I mean, it's quite a journey that you've walked, and you look at the turmoil that you were in. You know, you said that that was the catalyst. Our wounds is what brings us into, as we said earlier, into being our true, authentic self. At sort of, you've got to go through that hardship. You've got to go into that dark place. You've got to really scratch open those wounds, or face those wounds, face those mirrors that reflect
Yes.
back. So now, if you could sit with that younger self of yourself during that dark period in your life, where the drugs and the substance and all that was your, as you said, your antidote. Um, Before you stepped into this unbelievable journey that you're on now, what would you tell that little girl, that or you were a teenager in those years, right? At what age did you would I think did you actually step into this new space? At what age was this?
So, completely into this new space, I would say the last 4 years. The last four
Okay.
years entirely, yes. But
Wow.
the awakening shifting out of corporate came 11 years ago. And then there was, it's a gradual process. These things don't
Yeah,
happen quickly.
sure.
And then it's
Of course.
different mentors, different people. So it was about 2 years of hard substance abuse and destruction. And then another 2 years of kind of in the gray man's land, no man's land, gray area.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
still 1 foot there, 1 foot then, and then I would say the last 4 years entirely in a new space.
Yeah.
Yes, and versions
So
of myself.
so now in those 2 years, that those two hard
Yes,
years, what you know now, being on
yes.
this priestess journey and being a priestess and all the knowledge that you've gained and the wisdom, what would you say to that young Rouxvé today?
I would tell her that she is so loved. I would say that the degree of the pain and the degree of the hardship and the suffering is the degree of the impact that she is going to make in this world. I would help her understand that our soul came into this life with karmic lessons to learn, that the pain is an initiation, that it is the fire that forges the greatness, and that she just needed to hold on and wait, wait and see. Yeah.
And from all of that, you actually have a massive tattoo. I mean, a phoenix tattooed on your back, right? To
Yes.
celebrate
Yes.
this transformation.
Yes.
Oh,
It's actually quite amazing. The tattoo I actually got fairly early, I would say, just as I was about 6 months after I made the deal with God, and I saw that this was, and I get goosebumps because it was I didn't actually believe that my prayer would be answered. It was a last hope. It was such desperation that I was coming from. I was really at my lowest low. And then when I saw that shift, that was all I needed. And then I got the tattoo because I thought, if this is possible, I'm going to embed it into my skin. That I can be reborn out of the depth of hell. I can rise again. And yeah, I was actually shown in ceremony in different places that phoenix tattoo is exactly, it was my soul speaking to me, because tattoos have powerful meaning when you get them on your skin. I feel like she pulled me, that phoenix pulled me all the way through as well, right? And like I say, rebirth has been in my dharma for many lifetimes, both myself and helping others through this through
yeah.
this process.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Rouxvé. I mean, listening to your story, the collapse, the surrender, it is just so clear that you've walked through the fire and risen as a guide for other women. And what strikes me most is how personal and embodied your journey has been. This isn't just you studying teachings, and you've actually lived this. You know, you're coming from whatever you share, it's from something that you've personally lived and experienced and endured and risen from. So, and now you just carry these codes and into the work that you do, and into the work that you share with all other women. Which brings me now to the retreat that you'll be leading with us here at Namwat Tented Lodge and here in Namibia, the Wild Woman Retreat. Now you've called it Reclaim Your Inner Radiance. Such a powerful intention. Can you tell us what that phrase means to you?
So I feel that our true nature is already radiant, right? And what I mean by that, it's the divinity and God that shines within us. So it's a reclaiming, which means that all we're doing is dropping the illusion that we're not already radiant. So we're carrying a mask, we're carrying, maybe there's some haziness in the ways, things, wounds, whatever it may be, that's blocking that. And you know, from the work that we've done, it's a matter of just unveiling. And when you do that, when you drop those, the masks, the veils, then suddenly you tap into this inner knowing, this wisdom, this beauty, and you just want to dance, you want to celebrate life.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to invite women to into their own inner radiance, into that light that exists within them already. And that's why it's the Wild Woman Retreat, because that's the beauty of a woman, right? She is the full technicolor of experience. She is life divine. She is all of it, right? The masculine is the space that holds it, but the woman is the full technicolor of all of it. So I think in today's world, women are I call it masculated women. We're taught how to be men, right? In today's world, which we run businesses, we like file everything needs to be like this, and this is not actually what the divine feminine, the sacred feminine is meant to experience, how she's meant to experience life. She's meant to feel all of it and be with all of it and transcend it, right? We can only transcend something when we fully feel it. And that's why so many women are stuck in suppression and not like blocked throat chakra. That's what I see a lot with women, is because they aren't able to access all of who they are, this inner radiance, right? Right. So that's when we access all parts of ourselves, that's when we shine the radiance.
I can so relate to that, and I understand that. And I mean, I just, when you said this, I had this image in my head of me standing in a black trousered business suit. I'm a hotelier, so I'm in the hospitality industry. And I had a woman boss who said to me, if you want to succeed because this is a man's world, and if you want to succeed in this world as a woman, you do not arrive at work in a skirt. You wear trousers.
Oh, I had that
And if
too.
you want to come across as powerful, then you wear black. And if you want to make a statement, then you wear red. So we were conditioned as women to you're right, you did right, to be masculine. And that is why, I mean, you discovered it working with me that my masculine energy is a lot stronger than my feminine.
Yes.
And this
With a lot
is
of
clearly
powerful
what.
women. With a lot of powerful women running business. That's what I encounter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So why now? Remember, this retreat is going to Wild Woman Retreat. It's going to take place in the wilderness in Namwa, in the Bogota National Park. Why do you believe that the wilderness could be so good for this work that you do? You know, what shifts when women are gathered in nature, in sisterhood, but away from the noise of daily life and in the bush?
I love this question. I get goosebumps. Because we're reconnecting with the foundational divine mother, which is Earth herself, right? Gaia, right? So we're coming back to nature. So she is a goddess. Gaia herself is a goddess. And when we come back to our radiance, our femininity, we are naturally in flow with the earth. You know, woman, like the earth, has cycles. She has her monthly cycle, and then she has bigger cycles in her life, right? Moving from maiden all the way up to crone. And so the earth also has seasons. And so by connecting back to the earth and by being so embodied in the experience and being so close to her, we can reconnect to that divine wisdom. So it allows for a deeper connection to ourselves ultimately. So Earth is deeply connected to the divine. You know, she has a pulse, she's living and breathing. And so by connecting to her, we connect to that wisdom within ourselves as well.
And you work a lot with the womb, you know, with women, you work with the womb, correct?
Yes.
And I know that you've always said that your womb is not about just a biological organ. It doesn't just carry a baby, but it's a
Mhm.
portal of divine or to divine wisdom. I've just recently
Yes.
discovered this. So can you
Yes.
explain what you mean by that?
Yes. So our womb is actually a vortex of creation. And the spiral is a sacred geometric symbol that is actually very honored in divine feminine circles and priestesshood. But the spiral is the symbol that, well, it's a geometric symbol that allows life to move into through the womb. Okay, so when a soul comes in, it moves into the womb through the spiral. And it does this through something called the central axis or the axis mundi. And this central axis is the same energetic axis that moves through our galaxy, through the Milky Way, and through the entire universe. So the magnitude and how awesome this is that we have the connection to divine intelligence right in our wombs, right? And when we focus there, when we bring our attention there, we can access infinite possibility, infinite intelligence. And we can draw in messages and codes from other dimensions and other worlds because we are connected to this spiraling central axis through the womb. This axis through which the soul comes in with a new child when a new child is born, right? I think, where does the soul come in? Where does it come? It's this central axis that connects us to divinity.
That is so
Yeah,
beautiful. And yeah, and
it's
we're going to have
incredible.
these women actually experience this while on the ground, while on the earth, maybe barefoot and just, you know, feeling into
Yes,
this connection. And that's wonderful.
yes, yes.
So let's talk about your title, the biohacking priestess. It's such a powerful fusion, the two, biohacking and priestess. So, what does biohacking mean to you when combined with the spiritual and the feminine?
Yes. So again, this was birthed from lived experience. I would never have known at the time that it would become part of my dharma and my work. But in my 20s, I had a really good stint um, in the fitness world, bodybuilding and all of that. And I feel like optimal performance was always a passion of mine. And I never thought this would be part of the career and part of what I'd be doing. But for a long time, I left that entirely. Obviously, with the substance abuse, I just left that, went deeply, and then substance abuse, then healing, spirituality, and I kind of came full circle back to the performance side of things and the body, because I realized I started looking at myself and I was dealing with aspects like anxiety and certain things in myself. And I realized that when I supplemented properly and when I addressed those things, it actually assisted my spiritual journey so much more. And then I realized, wow, these two go hand in hand. And I see so many women in my space that are struggling with psychosomatic issues, but actually so much of that can be addressed when we look at what is the body missing. And of course, we are a holistic whole being. I feel like these things can't be separated, right? And so much of spirituality, I find, is limited to these upper chakras, the third eye and the crown chakra, which is, go meditate, go connect, be mindful, go channel, right? And it's almost like the sense of disconnecting from our body. But I feel like that's only half the truth, and we're only going to get halfway there. And it completely misses the point that we are human beings. We are divine, expansive souls, but in a human body. And we are here to live a human life that has sex, that eats food, that does all these things, right? And so it's like, okay, well, how do we become a good human? Right, we already amazing
Yeah,
soul. We want to be a good human. So then
yeah.
that's like, okay, then we need to descend into these lower chakras, the root, sacral, a solar plexus, where firstly, a lot of the shadow exists, all right? And you'll find a lot of spiritual community. You hear this term spiritual bypassing. What does it actually mean? For me, it means going straight to these higher chakras and um, completely missing the wisdom and the shadows and all of that's sitting in these lower chakras.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's for me, these lower chakras is what represents the body. And when we speak about biohacking, it's like, okay, working, yes, this is the psychosomatic spiritual aspect, but it's like, how do we bring the body on board with this journey? All right, so we want to be able to meditate well, but you cannot meditate well if you're not sleeping well, if you're not nourishing your body well, right? And that's why I feel like cleansing and purifying the body is critical, so important. And it's also why, if you look at spiritual traditions, many of these monks and beings and priestesses, they fasted. You know, they did practices that got the body on board. And I feel like in the modern times we've forgotten a little bit of that. So for me, it's coming full circle round and getting the body on board and actually realizing the body is the one that's on the journey, right? The soul is already eternal. The body is born, lives a life, and dies, right? So it's the body that needs to be listened to and loved and incorporated into the spiritual journey. And I find that what I find with the women that I work with is that um, the more we're able to accept and love and receive our bodies, the more we're able to receive the divine. Like they go hand in hand. So that's why the journey with the body and optimal performance is right up there.
Yeah. Do you know, and it's so wonderful to sit and listen to this and listen to you talk because I don't I'm, I need to share with our listeners that I have been walking this journey with Rouxvé. You know, you've been my mentor for the last, I think it's 6 months already. And it just continues. And it's one of the first things that you started with me was my body, was what I eat. And it gets so confusing. I mean, by the time you got into my life, I had done, what was it, 4 months of a fruit detox where I looked so sickly at the end. By the time you sort of saved me, I was falling apart. My nervous system was shut down. I had gone from one diet to the next, from one thing. I mean, it's so confusing out there on what you should and shouldn't do and you just brought it all home for me. And you looked at my body and what my body needed. And so I truly understand, what you're saying, and that there is just, I am a walking, breathing example of the kind of work that you do with women. And that is the reason why I'm having this discussion with you and why you are part of our team of facilitators at Retreats in the World.
You're also a
So do you
fantastic client, Tanola. So fantastic.
I
You're
come
so
with
coachable. You're committed. So I love it. That's how I like it.
and I come with many wounds that you had to help me work through and so do you believe that this world is starving for this kind of embodied feminine leadership?
Oh, wow. Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, the rise of the feminine is something that's been long awaited in the world, but also within ourselves. I feel like the rise of the feminine is not something that's just about women. I feel like every human being has a feminine and masculine within them.
Yeah.
And I feel like the feminine characteristics have actually been undermined over the last few hundred years. So basically the masculine principles of discipline, working hard, positions of power, all of that's been put on a pedestal. And the feminine elements or aspects, which is around magnetism, receiving, nurturing, love, compassion, has actually been made to be lesser than. And what happens with a world that's out of balance is it causes complete destruction. It can't hold, right? And so our world and people individually, communities, relationships are thirsty for more of the feminine. And that's why I feel like we're ready, more ready than ever. And yes, women hold the codes, and I just hope that we have enough men in the world that are happy to receive more of this wisdom and balance, that I feel the world needs.
When you talk about codes, what is that to our listeners who may not understand what codes are? Because that's a
Yes.
key, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. So how I understand codes, it's basically pockets of information, all right, that come through. And as you shared, I work with specific divine beings. And I think this is, again, it's something that I experienced in my life experientially. When I started working with a specific being, say I started working with Isis, in the transmissions I received from her, the messages, I received pockets of information, and that's codes. And when we receive codes in our bodies, it's almost we experience it like an understanding, like a remembering, and then that becomes activated within us, and we can start living from a different place, a more embodied place, a place where this information becomes a lived experience. So that's what I mean about codes. It's pockets of
Yeah.
information that might come from different frequencies that we are used to, right? So you could think of like a computer program. It's like a cheat code. It's like, okay, well, I want the code for compassion. I want the code for forgiveness, or I want the code for this and this, and then we can request that from the divine.
Do you think men are ready for us for this movement? Because there's a big feminine movement out there in the world. You,
Yes.
you just read about it, you see it, you experience it, we're all talking about it. Do you think men are ready for this divine feminine to step back into power?
They better get ready. That's what I share. I think there are men that are more ready than others, and I feel the men that aren't are going to really feel the pressure to get ready. And that's why I'm such a huge advocate of men's circles and men's groups. I feel like
Mm.
when men come together, they also remember the template of the divine masculine. And the women need that. The women need strong men that understand the power of the feminine. A strong man understands the power of his feminine.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. Sure. And
So,
it's for that
it's
reason.
actually, mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Carry on,
it's
carry on.
actually a weak man that imposes power and like this is the way the world needs to be. Like, that's actually a mask for a weak man, right? So,
Yeah.
a true powerful man is a space holder. He's the
Yeah.
space for which the feminine can flow through her different colors and her experiences and her emotions, and he's there for all of it.
Oh, it's so
With
beautiful.
discernment and boundaries, of course, but
Yes, of
yes.
course. And it's for this reason, we're starting off our Retreats in the Wild portfolio or selection or list of retreats for 2026 with the Untamed Men retreat. And we're actually hosting it twice. Now, we've never had retreats for men before. And
Yes.
when Brett Shuttleworth came on board, we said, right, well, I said to him, the first thing we've got to do is bring in the masculine. Let's work with them. And it's a retreat that I'm very,
Absolutely.
very excited about.
I'm so happy to hear
So,
that.
okay, so Rouxvé, can you tell me the story or transformation that you have witnessed from a woman that you've worked with that has just been like, this is why I do what I do? That's been the most groundbreaking healing that you've witnessed right in front of your eyes.
Yes. Well, you have been quite amazing as well, but we will. I would say, I won't mention a name, but there is a woman that when I met her, I would say, I mean, she's extremely successful business-wise, and she was so trapped in her own world of anxiety and in her masculine that it was even hard for her to relate to her husband, to even leave the house because she was so anxious. And this is what happens when we're in the what's called the unhealthy masculine, is too much on the one polarity, too much of the discipline, too much of the analysis and the structure. We become anxious. And she was so stuck in this. And then through the journey, we did a one-on-one journey together. We slowly started breaking this mold. And I would say the transformation was like night and day. I mean, now she just the light shines through her heart. It's just incredible. She's gentle, she's soft. She practices tantra with her husband, which is incredible. So tantra
Oh,
is
wow.
um, the ability to understand and flow with energy, but is specifically applied to sacred sexuality. So the sacred sexuality part that she's brought in her life has really awakened this wild feminine in her that, she said to me in a line, I remember near the end of our coaching container, she said to me, who was I even when we started? Like, who was I? I can't even remember that woman. And that was really it. She couldn't even identify with the person that she once was. So yeah, so that was definitely, I think seeing a
Wow.
woman being so contracted and then moving into her full femininity and her flow and her joy is just the most amazing thing to witness.
Do you find that with your work you draw in people or females, women that carry similar scars to you? Or is it a whole walk of life that you experience?
I find it interesting. It's a good question, but I find that the women that I tend to draw have had definitely similar pasts. So they are, I find they're powerful women. So they're usually running businesses or they're high up in corporate, which is where I once was. Yes, and many of them have similar wounds. I mean, but I think a lot of us actually do share a lot of similar traumas and wounds and
Yeah.
more than what we know. But I do typically attract women that are, I find, in typically more in their masculine, and they want to shift. They want to bring more of this divine feminine into their life, which is my gift, which is part of the transmission that I bring. So they obviously see something in that. Their soul is recognizing something's out of balance, and they are aiming towards something. So
Mm.
yeah. I don't really
And
attract anyone already in their feminine, very in their feminine. And I don't attract women that um I attract go-getters as well, people
yeah,
that want to change. So and that's important.
yeah, yeah. And what about that woman? And here I'm talking about myself because and there's a lot of people like me who yes, when you're in your space, you're in at work and you do what you do, we often wear a mask,
Mm,
and that is what it's because you're hiding behind this mask, you're able to face the world. And if you look at, as a hotelier, I can walk up to any guest in my environment, in that space, and strike up a conversation and be completely calm and just so empowered and confident and the moment you go into a circle with women like we would have at the Wild Woman retreat, the
yes.
mask has to come down, and suddenly you can't speak. You don't want to be seen. You don't want to be heard. The anxiety takes over. And I mean, this is what I went through when I started the priestess initiation with you. I couldn't speak up. I was scared. I was scared of judgment. I was scared of rejection. I was scared of, them thinking, well, who is she? You become this little girl again and you just get stuck. So, what would you say to those women who would want to come on this Wild Women retreat or want to do a priestess initiation with you or do any work with you, but in the forum of a group of women that is afraid of that?
Mm. I would say, where else is this fear blocking you from living your dreams and your fullest potential, right? And do you have the courage and bravery to step into the unknown? Because it's in the unknown where the magic lies. And usually
Mm,
it's in being able to take that leap into the fear. The fear is just something we don't know. That's all. The fear is like, if we know something, the known is certain, it's safe,
mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
the moment something is unknown, there's fear. So, okay, but what if the unknown has so much magic and miracles waiting for you? Like, what if sisterhood, like, what if you're able to face all of that and it was better than you ever dreamed? Like, what if that activated things within you that brought in abundance, that brought in the most divine relationship, that brought in all these things for your life? And That's the invitation, right? That's what lies on the other side of the fear. Because, when women come together, when there is a sisterhood, we activate each other and we give each other permission to bring all of these parts to the surface, to be seen and loved and healed.
Well, yeah, I can only say that what you're saying is true. Because boy, oh boy, I mean, I struggled for weeks, and I'm now at that stage where I'm ready to welcome female friends into my life. As you know, I didn't
Yes.
have friends. I've grown through for various reasons. I just didn't trust that
Mm.
part of my life to be able to hold space for another woman on a
Mm.
personal level. At
Mm-hmm.
work, I host retreats. It's what I do. I host guests from all over the world that come into the lodges, and I love that side, and I love that side of me. But when I go into a normal cocktail party or a dinner party, I'm the one who'll be the wallflower,
Mm-hmm.
quiet, don't say much, don't actually, because there's just this fear. And what you have brought out inside me is that
Mm-hmm.
even out of my comfort zone, I can step up. I can be me. I can honor
Mm.
me. And I can just, you know, be in my complete sovereign power. And
Mm.
and that is what I so look forward to when these women come to our retreats in the
Yes.
wild, to the Wild Woman Retreat, and work with you.
Yes, we give
So,
each other permission slips. That's the
mm,
thing, is that we hold back because we either afraid we're going to be judged. It's the sisterhood wound, right? So we either judging or afraid we're going to be judged. But what we don't realize is if just one of us overcomes that, then it activates everyone else in the field. And that's why I love women's work. I was like you. That's the crazy thing. For most of my life, I had no female friends. And that shows you I needed to transcend that very wound in order to bring that to light, right? That's how it works. The thing that we are here to heal is what we're here to gift. So yeah, it's beautiful seeing that in your life and so many of these other women as well. And of course, what's going to happen on
yes.
the retreats, I can't wait.
The title priestess. So when you wait, cut that Willem, okay? So if we now look at the retreat that you're coming to facilitate, I mean, facilitating retreats that we do at Namwa, and it's a powerful it's a powerful invitation that we put out there. It's a big
Hmm.
statement. There's great transformation that we guaranteeing. Um, so give us just a snapshot of what you're going to be unpacking during the Wild Woman Retreat.
All right, so it's going to be a journey of bringing women back to the wisdom of their bodies and their divine feminine self, right? The sacred feminine. And so we'll work a lot with the chakras, but each component there's going to be a lot of embodied work. So for a woman that's, like we said, the emasculated woman, we're often sitting at desks and in computers and in meetings. So there's going to be a lot of movement, all right? But movement that's conscious and moving into the intelligence of our bodies and finding the messages and finding wisdom there. There's going to be channel transmissions. So transmissions that help guide the psyche into aspects of the subconscious that maybe are hidden and are ready to be revealed, right? So it's going to be a combination of many things, but embodied work, subconscious work, of course, guidance from spirit, and like you said, womb work as well. So I feel like this full spectrum, and I like to refer to the chakra system because it's a beautiful map that allows us to um, look at the places of emphasis. Because if we look at the root, that's safety, grounding. If we look at the solar plexus, it's all about power and will and all of this. So I'm going to be bringing embodied expression into all of these different themes. So yes, moving body, psyche, spirit, all different aspects, without giving you too much detail, all the practices.
Yeah. And obviously we're going to be incorporating safari activities. So there's going to
Yes,
be the game drives, the boat cruises, the bushwalks. How do you think that is going to you could do this retreat, the content of what you're doing anywhere.
yes.
Now bringing it to Namwa into the Bobata National Park.
Mm,
How will you use that energy that comes from the
yes.
earth? I think we did speak about this earlier, but just bringing it into this aspect of your Wild Women retreat. How
Yes.
are you going to
For
use these
me, it's
activities?
about, yes, for me, it's about activating the senses. So if we come back to our bodies, if we think it's touch,
Yeah.
sight, it's our senses. So if you're going on a bushwalk, it's I'm getting goosebumps now because I feel Gaia is speaking to me. She's celebrating right now. She's so excited to be reconnecting to these women, right? Because if you're thinking of the walk, it's about bringing consciousness to the experience of grounding to Mother Earth, right? Of
Yes.
experiencing the magnificence of these animals that we're going to be around, and connecting with them on there's actually six senses, right? On ether as well, on spirit. So the sense is a big part of the body. So I feel like the embodiment aspect and the transformation is going to be so much more powerful in this sacred space where we are so close to the earth, and we can, yeah, come back to our senses in this way.
Sure.
And the elements,
And
of course. Sorry, I said the senses, but
yes.
the elements. I mean, as a priestess,
Yeah.
we understand that the elements are alive, right? Fire, earth, water, air. And in a place like Nambwa, it's just it's all
In
there
abundance.
in abundance. In abundance, yes. So
Abundance.
there'll be a lot of ritual. So of course, with priestess work, ritual is a way of devotion, of honoring the divine, and it allows us to be empowered in how we approach our life. So there'll also be, ritual, and ritual draws in the wisdom and the beauty and intelligence of elements. So there'll be lots of that at play as well.
Yeah. Rouxvé, for me, hosting these retreats at Namwa since when we started and now putting our collection together for 2026, it's always more about the collaboration with facilitators because I understand Namwa's energy. I understand the energy of that land. It carries the sacred frequency, a place where people come to remember who they are. I see it with our safari guests. I
Mm,
see, they'll come for 2 or 3 days, and most of our guests are now sort of going towards 3 days because there's just so
mm,
much on offer. But they come sort of highly strung and they leave so relaxed, they leave transformed. Our staff, our guests, everyone sort of carries them into this
mm,
transformation because we get
mm.
it, we understand it because we
Yeah.
walk around within this energy the whole time. And
Yes.
when there are facilitators like you with all these gifts, that all we're doing is we amplifying the power of this land. And we
It's
just,
exactly what you were sharing. I was like feeling the resonance of the land. And it's one
yeah,
of the beautiful, what you've created there is a sacred container, right? The land is in charge. We are at her mercy. So we come
absolutely.
in, the transformation is already 50% done.
Yeah,
I don't have to do
exactly.
much work. I just have to listen to the guidance of the land, and we flow with her. You know how I work, you can ask me what are we
Yeah,
going to do, but there's also an element of the beauty of
yeah,
mystery that's going to unfold from the magic of the land, from the guides and all of that's going to create, and of course the women, because the women themselves, their soul has a contract
yes,
for what's going to be
yes,
revealed in this program,
yeah,
and they are equally co-creators in this experience.
exactly.
Yeah.
Why, why did you agree to join us, to join our team of facilitators at Retreats in the Wild? Why did you say yes?
I said yes because of you, Tanola. I said yes because I know the values and the integrity that you embody, and
Thank you.
I just know that whatever you create would be incredible, and I could feel completely safe and fully held in the process of creating a retreat with you. And I've been involved, as you know, with retreat work for many, many years, at a
Yeah.
very high standard. So it's not something I would say yes to anyone, but I know like I say, the frequency and the essence from which you come, and yeah, I just could not be a part of that.
Oh, well, I am so grateful. I never ever pick a facilitator to be part of our retreats in the wild, team because there's a level of promise. In fact, there is a massive promise we are saying to the world, to anyone
Mm,
signing up. And I want to make sure that the right person is standing as a leader, as a guide, as a wisdom keeper, to make
yes.
sure that every single soul who joins any of our retreats is properly cared for and carried
Mm,
and transformed, and that they are aware of, have the ability to connect and have them bring themselves to the party, basically.
yeah.
um so so to have you as part of our team now, our team, and you have a history with Brett Shuttleworth, who is our ambassador for Retreats in the Wild. Can you just tell us a little bit about your history with Brett Shuttleworth?
Yes. So Brett at a stage was right in the beginning, came at a beautiful time in my life, perfect timing. And he pulled me out of a very dark place. And he was the mentor I needed at the time. And the relationship evolved then into a business relationship. And I came on board, this was now about 9 years ago. Came on board as managing the sales and the marketing of his current business at the time, Smiling Soul Retreats, and we helped build this beautiful retreats business all around the world together. So yeah, he's very much a soul brother, and that's where my retreat experiences come from, is working alongside him.
And we've just recently acquired Smiling Soul Retreats and Brett Shuttleworth, and you were the reason why this happened. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes, I had a message come through that Tanola and Brett needed to meet. So I followed that.
Well, I have to thank you. I really have to thank you for that introduction. I mean, we got onto our Zoom call. We actually spoke about it when we had our meeting, and we got onto the Zoom call. And he was in Cape Town at the time. I was here, and I said to him, my first words were, "Rouxvé wants us to talk. I don't quite know what about." And that's how it started. And we were on this call for 2 hours. And then
Yes.
the birth of, this whole acquisition
Yeah.
and Brett coming
I
part
don't
of
think
our
I could
family.
never have anticipated it either. So I just knew it had to happen.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Um,
Incredible.
so if a woman listening right now to us and she feels like she's standing where you once stood
Mm.
prior to your priestess initiate, well, stepping into what you are today and who you are today, this powerhouse of a woman, unsure of the next step, what would you want to whisper to her heart?
Have courage. Don't give up. Follow the gluten-free bread signs. That's what my shaman always tells me. Follow the gluten-free breadcrumbs. That's what he says.
Ah,
Basically, God, the spirit and the divine gives you signs, and you just need to be open to receive them. So know that every pain, every suffering, every challenge is here as a catalyst. It's a gift, and that's probably one of the greatest shifts you can make for your life, is to see the challenge that you're in as a gift, as something happening for you and not something happening to you. And when you can make that shift, then you become the sovereign creator of your life. Then you become empowered. And it's only from a place of sovereignty and empowerment that we become magnetic to, then you're going to suddenly run into the healer you're supposed to meet, or the course you're supposed to take, or this. It's only from that place. It's very hard to do that when we're seeing ourselves as the victim. So I would
wow.
say is see the challenge as the gift, as the
And
initiation.
what It's wonderful, wonderful advice. And would you recommend or suggest a little daily ritual that she can begin with today to reconnect with her body and her power?
Mm. I know this sounds incredibly simple, but the breath. The breath, I would start there. Just big, because when we are in spaces of anxiety and contraction, we're not breathing properly, and breath is life force. So some of us just need to start there. It's even too much to say go meditate and I would say once we're breathing properly, ask for strength, guidance, clarity, certainty from the divine. Right? One thing that I've learned on my journey is that the divine and our guides will not assist unless we ask them to. We have like a team of guides and angels that are willing to help us. And that's what I did when I was in my lowest I asked, I begged for that help. So we often forget that. We think that we are completely isolated, walking this path. And that's the ego, that's the illusion, right? That we are completely alone and we are separate. And that leaves us, in the space of desolation. But we can just start there, breathing and asking for help, and the help will come.
Wow, that is wonderful. Thank you. Is there, for anyone wanting to join the retreat or before, let's say they've signed up, is there anything that they need to do beforehand? Or can they just come as they are, or should they prepare something, or need to be able to, or yeah, do
I
anything?
feel I feel they just need to drop all expectation or ideas or any preconceived notion of what they're going to be getting, or what they're going to be walking into, and come with an entirely open heart and a lot of courage, a courage and willingness to meet all parts of yourself. Yeah, and of course, super important, I would say disconnect from any obligation or any, I would say no phones, nothing like that. Give yourself the time to completely switch off and disconnect. Because if there's any way you want to, sabotage your transformation, is if you have a cell phone that's pinging you of things you need to put your
Yeah,
attention to.
yeah, sure. Rouxvé, you've reminded us today that healing isn't about fixing. That is what I learned. I was hell-bent for 3 years from the darkest place in my body. It was about fixing me. I was constantly just, I need to fix this. I need to fix this. I need this, and I need a healer, and I went from one healer to the next, one wisdom keeper to the next, one mentor to the next. And what I've taken from today's conversation and my work with you is that you have reminded us that it's not about fixing us,
Mm-hmm.
that it's about remembering.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are able to reconnect with that remembrance, that our bodies are temples, our spirit carries this wisdom, our wounds carries this wisdom, and that our power is sacred. That is when you are just so ready for this transformation and this growth. And I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for walking this journey with me personally. And now I'd like to welcome you and thank you for the journey that you're going to be walking with African Monarch Lodges Retreats in the
Mm.
Wild, and the women that you're
Yes.
going to be transforming and holding space with. And what a gift you are giving us and giving to this world. Thank you.
Oh, I cannot wait. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. And the final piece is someone shouldn't have the expectation to be saved, okay? Because then they're still coming from the space of the victim. I will not be able to help anyone that expects they need a savior or feels that life is against them. They need to be in the space that they know that they are able to change and they're willing to change, and that they are the creators of their lives. And then it makes my job that much easier.
Isn't it easy for us to play that victim card? Gosh, I did.
Yes,
Hey?
it feels comfortable because there's short-term gratification because we get some
Yeah.
attention. People say, "Oh, shame." We get a little bit of comfort, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't fix anything, and it keeps us in these perpetual loops of suffering. And I can speak again from experience because I was there. I will never forget. I was in a transformational 4 or 5 day training where the coach, we had to select certain archetypes that we identified with, and I was selecting all of these like really sexy things like cowboy, and then he looked at me. I remember, never forget, it was one of the most pivotal moments of seeing myself, but it was also a lot of shame that came up. He looked at me and he said, "You're missing a big one." And I said, "What?" He says, "The victim." I was like, I never considered myself, and I realized, and it just woke me up, because up until that day I had the drug abuse, and I had this and I had this, and it just woke me up into like, have I truly been speaking about myself like this? And yeah, it was a big shift for me. Hard pill to swallow, but it was a
Yeah.
good one.
And one of the things, because there you're talking about, the way we express ourselves and the stories we tell about ourselves, and we define ourselves by our stories. So, um, and I know the work that you do, the work that you've done with me, the work that you'll be doing in this priestess initiation is about the way we talk about ourselves, and that
Hmm.
we express ourselves, and how important is that? Because it's not just victimhood that from that place that we
Yes.
talk ill of ourselves. So
Yes.
what's that? Because that's maybe somebody that something that our listeners could take home today already is your
Absolutely.
teaching around how we talk, these words, and how
Yes.
powerful and dangerous our words can be.
I like to say the words are spells, and it really is that. And we use them haphazardly, ignorantly, we say whatever. But what if it truly was? What if it truly was true that everything that you're saying is creating your reality? Like, how are you creating reality? What have you been creating? And the truth is, many of us are creating on default. We're speaking about the past, which means we are
Yeah.
constantly recreating the past into our future. So the most incredible power we have is to start speaking differently about our present. Start pulling the future into our present, right? By
Yes.
speaking those powerful declarations, right? And that's why a lot of what I do, and when I pray, and when I share transmission, it comes from that space of what future are we wanting to call in? Because I know that my words here have power. That's the spell, right? And we have the divine beings behind supporting those words too. So yes, what vows have you been creating, or what vows you need to break?
Is the lineage of women. When we look at healing one woman, isn't it true that we're healing 7 generations back? Our mother, our grandmother, our great
Mm,
grandmother, our daughters, forward as well. What we break
exactly.
today, we heal forward into our daughters and their daughters. Can you
Yes.
unpack that a little for me?
Yes, and it relates to the womb work. So basically, the wounds that we carry have been transferred. It's very, very rarely ours, right? It comes from the mothers and the grandmothers, or the betrayal that our grandmother had, or when she was, she didn't get an experience, her husband cheated on her, whatever it may be. That all sits in the womb, carried down in the womb, and we have I feel, a responsibility to the future generations to cleanse and heal this. And when we do that, I see it as our ancestors are applauding, celebrating us, because we literally purifying the lineage, we're purifying the blood lineage. And like you say, we are healing it both backwards and forwards, on a multidimensional spectrum. And yeah, it's one of the most incredible things we can do, and as a priestess, so important, because for me that's the prerequisite work in order to step truly into our gifts. We have to
Yeah.
do that healing work, right? We have to purify the lineage first.
Yeah. And I found, in this container that we've been in, that um, in my own life, that a very troubled relationship that I had with my mother several years ago, um, I didn't have to sit down and tell her how I feel and blame her. That is what I did a lot. blame her for the things but I didn't have to have that conversation with her. I just
Hmm.
focused on my own healing, which brought
Exactly.
about the healing of our relationship. And suddenly, boom, it's
Yes.
like magic. You just
Exactly.
you just see her differently. And
Yes.
so there's so much power in that. In
Yes, we're
us
shifting.
women
It's a
healing.
quantum. That's called quantum
Yeah.
healing. So, you're changing yourself, you automatically change the other. So we're giving them the greatest gift. We think, oh, we need to forgive our parents or forgive this person. Like, we just need to understand that everything is happening for us to evolve. And then they become actors in our play that is serving us. So all that's left to do is thank them, even if the experience was painful, because
Yeah.
they are the catalyst for the growth, right? And
Yeah.
then all that's left is compassion. And that's then what
And
creates the shift.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So this is your host, Tanola Rogers, and I invite you to pause often. And when you do, pause deeply. Thank you.